Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. Special guest in studio today. She's the host of Empire Fires on the Telstra English Network. You can see it on YouTube. She's right here. It's Abby Martin, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, Abby. How are you?
Hey, great to be here.
Do you think that MSNBC... I used to think they were the mirror image of Fox. I used to think that was not true. People would say that. But I think it is kind of true now. What do you think?
Yes, and I just saw them calling Bill Binney a conspiracy theorist. This is the guy who created the Thin Thread program that was taken as the blanket dragnet surveillance program in the Bush administration. James Risen has hailed him. Edward Snowden has hailed him as the person who came before him. So it is enormously offensive to see a 30-year veteran of the NSA be dismissed and cast aside as a conspiracy theorist for simply bucking the Russia narrative. Like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He built like what you guys are using to spy on everyone right now. So it sickens me. And this is on top of just every day, all day, the Joy Reids and the Rachel Maddows, and it's just Russia, Russia, Russia. I just can't, I don't know how much you can possibly manufacture about Russia. Like, just piling on and on and on. And the Russia stuff is so insane, too, because when you look at, like, today, for example, RT was forced to register as a foreign agent. They are doing everything in their power to make it just impossible to operate as a network.
Right.
But just to see MSNBC just pile on, it isn't surprising, but it just never ceases to amaze me. I mean, I watch it. I watch CNN and MSNBC and Fox daily just to see how insane they are. But I'd agree. It is the antithesis of Fox News. I mean, not the antithesis. It's like literally just the other arm.
Yeah.
Because
so they're the propaganda wing of the Democratic Party. There's no doubt about it. I didn't used to think that, but it definitely is true. Do you think? And I watch Fox News, and every time they attack Trump on Russia, it helps him. If you attack Trump on the real issues, meaning the health care, people's wages, ending the wars, all that stuff, it hurts him.
Well, there you go. They don't. We already know the Democratic Party doesn't care about that. Like, I just got a robocall today from someone who's like, this person is endorsed by the Democrats. I was like, do they support single payer health care? And do they support ending militarism? Because if they don't, I don't give a fuck that the Democrats endorse this person.
Do you think that Rachel Maddow is actually gone from being just doing bad journalism to actually being dangerously spreading propaganda?
I think that Rachel Maddow and other people like her know that it's almost like they're careerists and they're careerist hacks, but they know that they need to keep doubling down on excusing why Democrats are losing support and lost, essentially. I mean, it's all part of the same machine, right? They're all cogs in this big Democratic establishment. So I think people like Hillary, it's still part of that same psychosis that they haven't accepted fault and they don't understand. They're so far removed in their elitist bubbles that they have no idea what the entire country is feeling and thinking. It's really unfortunate. I mean, you just point to the example that Hillary Clinton didn't even bother to go to, like, what was it, Wisconsin? Didn't even bother.
Right.
Did Putin do that, or did Putin cancel the plane ticket? Or
yes, Putin. He wiped off Wisconsin on her map. He had a guy come in there with an eraser, and she's like, "Holy shit! Russia did it.
Russia did it."
So, let me ask you: what do you think the future of journalism? Are you optimistic about it? I'm certainly not. But what do you think where do you see it evolving? I mean, it's like, in retrospect, honestly, it's always been pretty horrible,
right?
And I mean, on the big issues like war, right? So, what do you think going forward? Or what is your prognosis for journalism as a whole?
Well, it's difficult because it's journalism is antithetical to business, right? So that's why journalism got corrupted in the first place, is it became just another corporate entity and consolidated into just like a construction of the U.S. government and just essentially stenography from these lackeys in the Beltway. I think that it's dead, and it has been dead for a while because of the corporate consolidation, because of the fact that businesses don't meld well. I mean, we just saw what Gawker shut down, Gothamist shut down because of the unionization, or attempt to, rather, of the employees. That's why I was at RT, Jimmy. I knew this 10 years ago. When the Iraq War was happening, I first thought that it was all the Bush administration. I did a swing state trip for John Kerry. Wow, that was an experience. That was fun. So I was still sucked into the two-party paradigm until I just kind of realized, hey, why is the media selling us this the media is not just like owned by the Bush administration. So it took me a while, and I think it takes anyone a while to really come to terms with how controlled the entire system is. And it's not just Republicans, it's not just Democrats. But I think that the future of journalism is with us. It's with people declaring objectivity is dead. You know, we don't need Monsanto's press release to compare to the facts of like who's being poisoned by Monsanto. We don't need government officials giving their side of the story. We can talk to the victims themselves. So that I think is different and is changing. However, I do think the problem, and I hate to use the term fake news because there's always been fake news, but you're seeing this term now hijacked by the establishment, by the Bill Cristols. They're creating a new think tank now to declare an all-out war on fake news. We know what that's going to mean.
But that means they're going to shut down dissenting voices.
Exactly.
That's what that means, because the biggest fake news that I ever lived through in my life was that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction.
Absolutely. The biggest conspiracy theory I ever heard. So now you have, unfortunately, you have a lot of grifters in capitalism because it's so difficult that now we need to brand ourselves and we need to become a brand to like, you know, to survive. And we have our Patreons and we have this and that. It's just unfortunate that that's the way it is. I do have a lot of hope with citizen journalism and people's media and the creation and cultivation and support for, you know, peers like us, and to understand there are anti-imperialist voices out there and we need to build each other up and support each other. And unfortunately, I think that's the way it has to be, that we need to invest ourselves. Like as citizens, we need to invest and just follow the journalists that we respect and admire and want to support, because we cannot count on any institutions. As we see, these corporations have censored, shadow banned. That's what happens when you put your faith in YouTube, in Google, in Twitter.
Right.
So we have to just completely create our own networks. I know it's very easy to say that, but it starts with the networking.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, even a place that does such great work like The Intercept had to rely on the, you know, a billionaire
and they're
guy.
asking for donations now.
And yeah.
I guess the $1 billion dried up.
They do great work. I mean, thank God. You know, so can you tell us about your work with Project Censored?
Project Censored is an incredible organization. I always tell people who are aspiring journalists who don't want to go to J school, and I recommend don't go to J school. A, you're going to be in debt up to your ass.
No, J school is journalism, not Jew.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Some people in my old neighborhood might think it's
journalism
Jew school.
But... Yeah, journalism school. I know that Israel doesn't like me, but I'm not.
Well, they have J dating. They have J dating now, so J school.
Right. Totally. But I always tell people, instead of going there because you're going to get hammered into your head of how to be a journalist and how to do this and do that, and then you're going to fucking have 10 unpaid internships and never get paid for your work, go to somewhere like Project Censored. They do an annual book where they take in anyone who wants to participate, research, writing, finding the stories that are the most censored stories every year. They publish the top 25 censored stories every year. This year is mind-blowing. Their top one censored story was that there's 3,000 communities across the country who have double the amount of lead than Flint at its peak of the crisis. 3,000. Like
what?
That's 3,000 communities have lead levels that are twice as much as Flint at its peak. So these are the kind of stories. And also another story in Project Censored.
So do you still drink out of the fountain? Do you still drink out of your faucet at home? I don't.
You know what? I had that. I had a really nice water filter that broke, but it's horrible. I just drink out of my like fridge thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is probably bad.
I drink the spring water.
There you go. Well, Perrier, Nestle, dude. I can't drink fucking. Is Perrier Nestle?
I don't think
I hope
so.
not.
No, Nestle's Nestle.
Nestle's Nestle, but they own they own like the majority of water bottling companies. Is it Nestle? It is Nestle.
This Nestle?
That's
Get
Nestle.
out of
See,
here.
I can't drink Nestle. But
distributed by Nestle Water.
Exactly.
Get the F out of here.
Exactly.
And now why is Nestle bad? Because they're taking the aquifer
So
water?
they will go and suck out like just different aquifers, different dams in the country and in Canada, and then just put them in plastic and just redistribute them for like a 1,000,000% profit. And the city gets nothing. It's probably just some city council member who has like, a Nestle donation. So it's disgusting what they're doing. On top of that, the slave labor with their chocolate. But yeah, Nestle,
I try
and on
not to
top
do
of that, they make Purina cat food. Like they own everything.
Yeah, well, it's hard, right? So we live in an age where, what Mark said, capitalism's eating itself. We only have a few, what George Carlin used to say, you have 50 different breakfast cereals and only 2 political parties.
Aren't you happy that you have choices?
Yeah, you have choices. 2 political parties, 50 cereals. Okay, all right. That sounds like So do you think we have one party, right? That's why, of course you do, right?
Of course, we do have one party, and that's why I have always advised against the lesser evilism mentality.
So you didn't vote for Hillary Clinton?
Are you kidding me?
Are you telling me you didn't vote for Hillary Clinton? Do you know
and
that?
I'll never hear the end of it.
You know what that makes you? You're a petulant child.
Oh yeah, no, I'm worse than that. We're treasonous.
Oh, we're
traitors.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I like Bernie, and that was because Russia manipulated my mind.
Right.
I just thought I wanted single payer.
Right.
Turns out it was Russia manipulating me.
Turns out my boyfriend is the one who... What was that story? Like, oh no, the girls who voted for Bernie Sanders were really being told by their boyfriends. It's like, oh, we have no agency. So who's being sexist now?
It sounds like that they were saying women can't make up their own minds.
We got to get led to the polls and told what to do. So it's astounding. I actually will never forgive Bernie for not... Like, here he is running as an independent. You should have done that before, man. What the hell is wrong with you?
So he already promised he's going to run as a Democrat if he runs for president again. And right now he sent out a mailer the day before the elections this week saying, hey, wherever you are, go vote for the Democrat. So I've been saying on this show, now I'm a big Bernie Sanders fan. I love that guy. But you can be right on the issues and wrong on strategy. And he's, I think, 1,000% wrong on the strategy of trying to prop up the Democratic Party.
Well, something happened with him. It's the same thing that happened to Michael Moore when he was campaigning for Ralph Nader in 2000. And then 4 years later, he's on his knees begging him not to run because that's what the system does to you. So Bernie Sanders, you see him on a video 10 or 15 years ago saying how the lesser of two evils is insane and you should never do it. And now here he is. So something happened. But I do want to say, even though we do have two parties, look, the Trump phenomenon, I think, is... I know a lot of people who are Mexican here whose families actually are in hiding because they're undocumented. And it is it's a very scary climate. ICE raids have skyrocketed. There's, assaults on just African-American people who are just in the street. So I think aside from Trump himself and the policies he's implementing, I feel like like I said before, there's kind of like a mass psychosis among the people that is cultivating a very disturbing climate. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I may not see it as much because I'm white and in a more privileged sector of society, but like a lot of people who I've encountered and talked to are encountering very disturbing things and attacks and assaults, and they're very scared. So I don't want to like trivialize that. It is very disturbing. However, this was all happening before. It's just that now Trump has kind of like ripped the mask off. So I don't like this whole deep state narrative where it's like they're trying to oust him. Look, let's not give him too much credit. It's only because he just isn't the best face to carry it on.
So that's it. So Trump can't sell war as well as somebody like Barack Obama can sell war and get the rest of the world to still like our military empire. Whereas Trump, he reveals that what we are doing, right? We're just greedy. When he says, hey, we should take their oil next time. So
exactly.
He's revealed. By the way, we did take their oil.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't leave it.
That's why we went.
Yeah. So we got the oil. So that I never thought of it like that he makes it harder for them to keep all this going. That's a great point.
But then again, then you see the Iran nuclear deal and North Korea. Look, I think wars, even though a lot of them are planned, like if Gore won, we would have still overthrown Saddam. Like I'm convinced. I don't know if we would have gone in a full-scale invasion, but that all the things would have still happened. However, I think that the belligerence of Trump, a lot of wars aren't planned. And things can happen because of the belligerence and incompetence and ineptitude of someone on Twitter or doing something. So I think Kim Jong-un, it's a very dangerous escalation between the two entities. And the Iran nuclear deal is just a fucking disaster. Iran never had a nuclear weapons program. Right. They don't have a nuclear weapons program. But to just rip up that deal is like, that is an act of war. And these sanctions are acts of war. So sanctioning Maddow directly, sanctioning heavy sanctions on North Korea, this is all precursors to something that we don't need to be doing right now.
Yes, people don't know that North Korea has offered to stop their nuclear program if we would just stop doing war games over their goddamn country.
Yeah, and they did until Bush declared them as part of the axis of evil. And then they're like, all right, fuck you. And then they just started building nukes again. So okay. Well, one more. You were down, you did some coverage in Houston around Hurricane Harvey. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what you saw? God, how depressing that place is. Well, big oil rules the day there, as we know. It is the only big city in the country that has zero zoning.
Yeah,
so that's how... So imagine schools built next to chemical plants. Like that Arkema chemical plant that exploded, there's like hundreds, if not thousands of people who live in the immediate vicinity of that. And because of these terrorism laws, they don't have to tell you what chemicals are in these plants. And another thing that I found out that was really interesting is that these giant plants are not fined during startup and shutdown and also during any natural disasters. So they're just like, don't care, just fucking release all these plumes of toxic chemicals because we know that at the end of the day, we're not going to see a dime spent. Even a permit for plunder, like they didn't even have to do that. So aside from that, Jimmy, the complete and utter neglect and the failure of these institutions, I don't know where the fuck FEMA, Red Cross, or the U.S. government was. We went to a city called Lakewood. There were dozens of people living in molded out, gutted out homes, said they had not seen one government official, not one media official. They showed me they were all denied aid. They're just living there 2 months after the hurricane. They said that there was even like levees that were open, that they were flooded, not told to evacuate. I mean, it's just a typical just total class warfare. I mean, there's all Black and Latino neighborhoods, mostly undocumented. And they even told me, they said even though there was flooding in the majority of Houston, you saw only the rich neighborhoods really and business back up and running, the same after Katrina. That's all these people care about is getting business back up and running. A lot of volunteers that went said that they were told not to go to these neighborhoods because they would get shot. So it's the same kind of looting narrative. These people are, they're looting and stuff. No, it's called survival. And it was a really amazing story of just community stepping up to help. But the complete ownership of big oil and petrochemical, we realized how much they own even hospitals and university wings. So you can't even study cancer clusters accurately because it's all compartmentalized in different things where they can't accurately call out who the perpetrator is because they'll just lose their funding. So that's how bad it is. And then you look at the climate change denial administration and then, of course, who's in the EPA. So it's depressing because it's like, how the hell can you begin to radicalize a community when, aside from all of that, everyone works inside the industry?